Energy defines global power. Power attracts dangerous attention. Fusion Point, in theaters now.
Some more breaking news: a collision of money, power, technology, and death that has the internet demanding answers. Trump Media just announced a $6 billion merger with TAE Technologies. What's that? It's a nuclear fusion company founded in 1998. They say they're going to build the world's first utility-scale fusion power plant starting next year. But here is what has everybody asking questions. Days before the announcement, one of America's top fusion scientists was shot dead in his home. Nuno Loureiro, 47 years old, doctor of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Authorities are calling it a homicide. But the timing is impossible to ignore. And this is not the first MIT fusion scientist to meet a violent demise. Now understand what fusion energy represents. It's the holy grail of power generation. Near limitless energy, no carbon emissions, minimal long-lived radioactive waste, and critically, it's the only realistic power source capable of feeding the exploding appetite of AI data centers. President Trump, he's been talking about this openly. He told the NVIDIA CEO that AI is taking over the world, and then he listed the technologies that will define the next century: quantum computing, fusion, 6G, civil nuclear energy. And for decades, Russia and China dominated nuclear reactor construction. They built 22 reactors in a row, and now Trump is positioning America to reclaim energy leadership. And the old order is watching everything they've built come under threat. Fusion means no need for oil. It would obsolete power models overnight. And that's why big tech is circling. That's why Microsoft signed with Helion. And that is why this merger just sent shockwaves through the global energy establishment. Think about it, a $6 billion fusion merger. A top scientist shot dead days before the announcement, and questions the mainstream media refuses to ask. And that is exactly why the independent media exists. So before we continue, I want to speak directly to you, the people who watch this show and make everything we do possible, because none of this happens without your views, your encouragement, your comments, your prayers, and your support. You see, stories like this, they get buried by the corporate media, but we dig them up. If you'd like to help us keep fighting, we'd appreciate your support at the link down below, nnn.is/give. If you can't donate, share this video with somebody who needs to hear it. Text it, post it, because those shares make a massive difference. We are thankful for you, and we could not do this show without you. Now, here's where the questions multiply. Nuno Loureiro wasn't just another academic. He was a leading figure in plasma physics and fusion science, exactly the kind of mind that could accelerate or redirect the future of energy. And history is whispering. In 2004, Eugene Malov, another MIT-affiliated fusion researcher who exposed a cold fusion cover-up involving the Department of Energy and MIT itself, was brutally murdered in his home. That case still echoes through the research community. Now law enforcement is reportedly probing a possible link between Loureiro's killing and another shooting at Brown University. 2 shootings, 2 academic institutions, no official conclusions. But the timeline is stacking up faster than anyone can control. Now, Ashton Forbes, one of my favorite follows on X, he's been on this show before. He posted this. Devin Nunes, this is breakthrough technology. Aneutronic fusion is the future, and Donald Trump knows. Aneutronic. Listen.
So this
is Devin Nunes.
This is
He's the chairman of and CEO of Trump Media and Technology Corporation. Listen carefully.
This is breakthrough technology. When this is done, and I don't say this lightly, this will be the most important discovery and invention since the first Manhattan Project. So we did a lot of searching, John, all over the United States. We looked at a lot of the emerging nuclear power companies, and there's nothing that stands that holds a candle to this company. So look, we want to be right in the middle of the most important issue at the highest level. What does America really need? When we started True Social, we needed free speech. We saved that. Now somebody's got to step up and do something to produce real energy in this country, and we're going to do it. This is breakthrough technology.
Fusion energy. Let's keep going here. President Trump's talking about AI taking over the world. But he knows what's coming next. He's forward thinking, guys. That's why Truth Social, Trump Media, is partnering with this fusion energy company. Donald Trump knows what's going to happen. I mean, come on, guys. This guy has been right about everything. He has survived every single attack. When he talks like this, you need to listen.
6G. So we're taking the next logical step with a historic agreement on science and technology partnerships, and this will create new government, academic, and private sector cooperation in areas such as AI, which is taking over the world. I'm looking at you guys. You're taking over the world, Jensen. I don't know what you're doing here. I hope you're right. All I can say is we both hope you're right. But it's pretty amazing. Quantum computing, fusion, 6G, and civil nuclear energy, and align our nations through the approach of centered deregulation and innovation. And we're going to have a lot of deregulation and a tremendous amount of innovation. It's just amazing. But this new accord is already helping spur a massive wave of private sector deals worth over $350 billion alone, headlined by a $136 billion from Blackstone. That's very nice. Steve, thank you. That's why you have that location, I think. It's considered the best seat of the year. Yours is pretty good, too, Jensen. That's good. That's great, Steve.
And here's the thing about AI. You may have seen some of our next news AI virtual reporting. AI requires intensive computer processing and intensive amounts of power. And if we fall behind in the power generation field, we will lose the AI arms race, which is currently happening right now. It's a global Cold War that's happening. So we need to amplify our energy output so that we can remain the most powerful nation on earth. Very important. Trump Media Technology Group, the company behind True Social, said it will merge with TAE Technologies, a closely held fusion developer founded in 1998. The transaction valued at more than $6 billion. Let's listen to this.
It's possible, but let's just say this is not the deal.
I want to go to this one instead. We'll get to that one. This is what Forbes said. This is Forbes 24 hours ago. The merged entity will start building the world's first utility-scale fusion power plant next year. That's what the company's stated. This is Forbes, guys. Okay, let's go back to the Bloomberg hit.
But
joining us now is Bloomberg energy reporter Will Wade. And Will, I won't ask you to make sense of a media company buying a company invested in nuclear fusion, but I did read that they want to start an actual nuclear fusion power plant next year. Is that possible?
I mean, it's possible, but let's just say this is not the deal I was expecting to see when I got to work this morning.
No, and I'll say that too. When I saw the news on my desk this morning, I said, "What? Trump Media in a nuclear fusion company?" Like, it didn't make sense. But it does make sense. And the reason it makes sense, and maybe this guy will bring the point. I don't know. I haven't seen this clip. But maybe because Trump media, Truth Social, computing, AI, the future, all those things, right? You can't have one without the other, right? That's how I can draw the connection here. Maybe this guy will be smart enough to do the same.
They won't even be the first, actually. We have Commonwealth Fusion is already working on their commercial fusion power plants, but fusion.
As I look at those numbers on the screen, Truth Media provides up to $200 million cash at signing, additional $100 million available later. All stock deal valued at $6 billion. TAE working to develop fusion reactor. I look at those numbers and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, how much of that is from the settlements with CNN, ABC, BBC? Remember? I mean, Trump sued the shit out of all these people. YouTube, right? The guy's collecting checks all day long from all these corrupt media outlets for defaming him and slandering him and all the things, right? All the things. Come on, you know the thing. I don't know. That's the first thing that came to my head. How much of that money came from CNN? Anyway, sorry.
Power is still under development. We don't have anyone who's really got a working system yet, but there are a couple of companies that are getting close, and TAE is one of them.
Can I ask you to try to make sense of it? Maybe not in like a media combining with a fusion company, because again, let's see
if they draw the dots that Franchi just connected.
Maybe there's no way to actually make sense of this, but why TAE would look for a buyer outright, especially one with connections to the White House?
Money? I mean, I was just listening to the conference call, and the CEO of TAE, the first thing he said is capital is becoming one of our biggest problems, which is interesting because in fusion, physics and engineering has really been their biggest problem. But they're getting up to $300 million cash out of this, so that's a good start for them, and they could always use the money.
From what I've read, the most advanced scientific efforts to extract energy through the fusion process have used over 100 times more energy to do the experiment than what they've gotten. So how does that make any sense? Like, how could we go from that to one that works next year?
So yeah, that's the key benchmark that fusion companies use. They can create that fusion reaction which generates electricity or generates energy. Well, it's heat actually, but they need a lot of energy to make that happen. So what we saw in 2022 in Lawrence Livermore Labs in California is they finally had a reaction that generated more power out than power going in to make it happen. So that's what all of the companies have been trying to do, is to consistently have that more power out than going in reaction. And we have not yet seen that on a commercial scale.
So on TAE, you have a company that has yet to realize its promise. In Trump Media, you also have a highly unprofitable company too.
Oh, yeah, shut it down. Oh, yeah. Here's Elon Musk. With Joe Rogan. I joined the AI race to keep humanity safe. Elon explained his pivot to slow down AI to building XAI at full throttle.
If I've been a voice saying like, hey, we need to slow down AI, we need to slow down all these things, and we need to, not have a crazy AI race. I've been saying that for a long time, for 20 plus years. But then I came to realize that really there's two choices here: either be a spectator or a participant. And if I'm a spectator, I can't really influence the direction of AI. But if I'm a participant, I can try to influence the direction of AI and have a maximally truth-seeking AI with good values that loves humanity. We're much more interested.
He did have a little bit of a problem with Grok though when it went off the rails. Remember that? Yeah, that was a little bit of a PR nightmare. But let's talk about that suspicious murder 3 days ago. This was posted. Top nuclear fusion scientist Nuno Loureiro. I don't even know how to say his name. MIT's leading nuclear. Sorry, Nuno. But rest in peace, my friend. MIT's leading nuclear fusion scientist pushing clean energy breakthroughs was murdered at his home Shot dead at 47. His plasma physics research could have changed the world. Now he is silenced. Not the first, though, as we stated. 89, Eugene Malov exposed the cold fusion cover-up by the DOJ and MIT after excess heat was reproduced dozens of times. In 2004, he was brutally murdered in his home. Let's listen here. This is the individual professor of nuclear science and engineering. Rest in peace, my friend.
To me at the time, and it has even being implied as real and having monies, shall we say, being diverted from their favored programs, and that was a threat. It was real. Overwhelmingly compelling, as I said, in Fire from Ice. It was real. Now it's 100% certain. In fact, what Pons and Fleischman found was only the tip of an iceberg. But within weeks, the hot fusion people were going into action behind closed doors to disprove them. The difference between July 10th and 13th was dramatic. The raw data, excess heat. But then on the 13th, it was shifted completely. It was altered. They did some standard averaging, which was appropriate, that is in time blocks, but the level of the signal had been utterly changed. It looked like monkey business to me at the time, and it has turned out to be exactly that. Scientific paper done under Department of Energy contract that had altered data, and that data is scientific fraud as far as I'm concerned. It was represented as a negative result when it was positive. The representation of the altered data as a negative was clear fraud. We know for a fact today that the cold fusion, low energy nuclear reactions are real. In a few instances, I can say there are clearly over-unity electromagnetic devices, things that produce more electrical energy out than in. Electromagnetic theory will require radical revision. The only way of approving any patent.
Here he's talking. I mean, this is legit. This is legit technology that's been hidden from us forever. It's been hidden from civilization because of the grip of the oil companies, because of the grip of corporations. You see, if suddenly there was just free energy everywhere, what would happen? Our entire infrastructure is built on the oil economy. So introduce fusion reaction technology, over unity power devices. All of that crumbles. And that's really what these people are trying to protect. They are trying to protect the infrastructure that they have used to enslave us forever. I mean, you remember the story, right? Nikola Tesla. He built a massive, massive tower. And I think it was Wardenclyffe. Builds a massive tower. I love this story because it tells you everything. And the financier, I forget his name, it escapes me at the moment. He comes and he asks, well, Tesla tells him this is going to power everything. It's going to give everyone energy, give everyone free energy. But then the financier says, well, where do we put the meter? How do we charge people for what is being consumed? That entire story, I tried to recount it as best I could, but that entire story tells you the foundational mindset of the people who are trying and continue to enslave humanity. So with respect to Donald Trump here, think about this. This is what's wild. Donald Trump is now partnering with a company, his media company is partnering with a fusion reaction company because President Trump knows that will free humanity. The chains will fall all off of us. Just think about that for 1 second. Let that idea sink in. Donald Trump understands this. He wouldn't have allowed Devin Nunes to move forward with such an action if he didn't know what would happen on the other side. Donald Trump is doing more than just making America great again. He's making humanity free again, just as God intended. Think about that for just a second. Let's continue.
That resembles cold fusion is to eliminate the words cold fusion or anything like it. They no longer look at the data. Of course, they never really looked at the data. They had a bad frame of reference to begin with. They said it must work like hot fusion. Well, this was in a solid state. It's just like saying the equivalent of demanding that cold fusion works like hot fusion is like saying a transistor works like a radio tube. There must be this product or this radiation or we're not going to believe it. The Wright brothers airplane flew, and there was very much controversy about that from 1903 to 1908. One prominent critic who said it would never fly, never be real, could never be done. This one is particularly intense because of the threat to academic wisdom. There's nothing worse, I found, than suggesting to academic physicists in particular, and academics in general, that they are not only wrong, but disastrously wrong, catastrophically wrong, and that once they are proved and shown in public to be the fools that they are and the bad actors that they are, there's possibly going to be some punishment for them.
So let's keep going here. Trump media merging with nuclear fusion company, suspicious murder. Trump media announcing this merger. A top MIT nuclear fusion scientist shot at his home days prior to the merger. Let's take a closer look. MIT physics and fusion expert shot and killed at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. He was the director of MIT's Plasma Science Fusion Center, highly respected fusion research lab, leading figure in plasma physics and fusion science, the kind of research that could influence the future of energy. Fusion promises virtually limitless energy with no carbon emissions, no long-lived radioactive waste. He was shot and killed at his home. Authorities are saying it's a homicide. Now, diving deeper, they write here that TAE Technologies is a privately held nuclear fusion firm. They have backing from Google and Chevron and other institutional investors. Of course, Chevron, you can understand, right? They want to preserve their power infrastructure. Google needs energy. Fusion is positioned as a potential future power source for AI and data centers. The merger would take TAE public via Trump's media-listed entity. This is one of the largest fusion-related deals tied to a public company. The context, and this is what makes people uneasy. Fusion energy, like I said, directly threatens existing energy models, including fossil fuels and legacy infrastructure. Loureiro was considered critical to the development path of future fusion power plants. His death is a significant loss to the global fusion research community. 2004, as we stated, another MIT-affiliated fusion scientist, Eugene Malov, was also shot and killed at his home. Many are calling this an assassination. Others believe his research made him a threat to powerful interests. Some believe the timing alongside major fusion-related financial moves is too coincidental. There is no official confirmation of an assassination or an agenda. Of course, there would not be an official one. I mean, we don't know the details yet, but could have just as easily been a hit. But when breakthroughs promise to rewrite how the world is powered, people pay attention. And when the same field loses key figures in violent ways, questions are inevitable. Make of it what you will. Wall Street Journal reporting Trump media to merge. Nuclear scientist and MIT professor shot and killed. Think about that for a second. There's a lot to unravel here. Let's take a look at Ashton Forbes. He posted this 19 hours ago. Next generation of plasma drones that don't rely on fuel can stay aloft indefinitely. That's what neutronic fusion can do. And now you understand why Donald J. Trump just merged with TAE.
Fusion is a much safer option. A next generation of airplanes that doesn't rely on fuel, it can just stay aloft, unlimited range, unlimited endurance. That's what nuclear fusion can do for an airplane. We put it in a magnetic bottle that can contain the high temperatures. You need hundreds of millions of degrees. We can release in a controlled fashion net energy. We think we have a very robust strategy going forward that has potential for success. What this concept does is it's a high beta concept, which means we use a high fraction of the magnetic field pressure. We use all of its potential. And that means we can make our devices 10 times smaller. So instead of something the size of a building, we have something the size of a large truck. The small is the reason we can do this quickly. If something's small, you can build up momentum, you can develop it fast. It doesn't take 5 years to design it, it takes 3 months. We can design it, build it, test it in under a year. We can do several of these cycles, and we think we can get to a prototype in 5 years. Every time you do plasma physics, you learn something new. And that's why this is a high-risk, high-payoff endeavor. That's what we're doing here, is testing that concept out to see if it really holds the promise that it appears to. And as a defense company, our increasing mission is to enhance global security, and this is how we do that in the energy realm. Gas turbines are a huge improvement over other technologies in terms of climate change, but they're only a 50% improvement.
Well, you lost me at climate change, but I get it. Lockheed Martin, this was, let me just open up this here. Ashton Forbes was quote tweeting his own post of 24 hours ago talking about Lockheed Martin's compact fusion reactor. He says it looks almost identical to TAE's newest reactor because they both use field reversed configuration with high beta. Lockheed CFR went dark around 2018. Charles Chase, who convinced LM, Lockheed Martin, to build it, claims it was successful. Do we have any commentary here? I don't think so. Lockheed Martin CFR concept. Let me just make it bigger, sorry. Vacuum field stability. You heard some of the other scientists talking about these things, but Ashton Forbes is stating that the Lockheed Martin system is nearly identical to the TAE system. I would assume because the physics are the same, so the devices would likely be the same as well, to some extent, to harness that type of energy. But that was the Lockheed. He was scrolling through the Lockheed Martin concept slideshow right there. So this is a big freaking deal, folks. This is a big deal. I don't know if you guys realize just how big of a deal it is. You see, Trump Media CEO Devin Nunes is laying out the vision that this merger is about preventing an energy crisis as high-powered AI data centers expand exponentially. TAE Technologies uses a process called neutronic fusion. It's cleaner, it's safer, and it works at scale. It rewrites the global energy map overnight. Analysts are calling it disclosure at DEFCON 1, the first publicly traded fusion company in history, and it's connected directly to Donald Trump. The people who profit from scarcity, from oil dependence, from controlled energy markets, they are watching this unfold with growing panic. The fusion era is no longer theoretical. The energy war is no longer quiet. So we have a top MIT fusion scientist dead, shot in his home in Massachusetts just days before Trump Media announces a $6 billion merger with a nuclear fusion company. Nuno Loureiro was 47 years old. He directed MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Authorities say it's a homicide. The investigation ongoing. The internet's asking questions that no one in power wants to answer. This now is not the first MIT fusion researcher to die violently. As you saw, Eugene Molov murdered in 2004 after exposing a cold fusion cover-up. Now Trump is positioning to build the world's first utility-scale fusion plant. Devin Nunes says it's about powering AI and preventing an energy crisis. The old oil energy order is watching the monopolies slip away. Is that a coincidence? That's the word the system wants you to accept. So here's my question. Do you believe that his death is connected to this fusion announcement? Yes or no? And do you think that Donald Trump is taking this step because he truly wants to free humanity? Comment below. And while you're down there, visit the merch shop, linked in the description.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.